builders, parents, and collectors. On this episode of the Creation Evaluation Station, I'm going to be looking at this Legacy set here, the Thunder Raider. Really cool set. I'm very excited to put this together. I have the original, but we'll be getting to that when I actually get to that season. And we'll probably do some comparisons then as well. But before I get into it any further, I want to let new viewers know that I do in-depth reviews of models and construction kits, both new and old, mostly Lego, but other products as well. I also do reviews and discussions of other creative works, such as movies, video games, and animation. Now, because they're in-depth reviews, they can be on the longer side, so make sure you're using the timestamps that are embedded in the red line here, or down in the description to jump around to your favorite part, or to use as bookmarks to come back to at a later date. So, back to the set. Take a close look at that box. That's really sweet. I've always liked the vehicle and the mech, and the fact that they combine together for transport is just absolutely awesome. And there's some other stuff like bad guys in here. Oh, we'll take a closer look at that, but the overall set is what I'm most excited for in this, and have been for quite some time. I just haven't had time to put them together. There's actually 3 versions of this. There's the original, there's this one, and then there's also a little mini build that's in a poly bag, and we'll get around to all 3 of them eventually, and probably do a little comparison and contrasting. Apparently somebody else liked this set too, since there's been so many versions of it. But yeah, this thing is awesome. Now, getting down to its details, it is set number 71699, and it is for ages 8 and up, and has 576 pieces. And originally retailed for $49.99. It's no longer available, and it was released in January of 2020, so not too long ago. But I think that's when the Legacy sets first came out anyways. But anyways, I'm really excited to put this together. Let's go open her up and see what's inside. Here we have the contents of the box, and we've got our instruction booklet, wrapped in plastic here, along with the sticker sheet. More stickers than I'd like to see, but yeah. Now there is actually 2 instruction booklets here. You can't tell. Let's see if I can separate them just a little bit inside the bag. Yeah, there you go. About the same size each one. I'm guessing one's for the vehicle and the other one is for the mech, but we'll find out. Now, as far as the backs are concerned, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bags. Here we have the contents of bag 1. To start off with, we have our good old brick separator, and then we have quite a few other pieces here of varying kinds. A lot of dark pieces, black and gray. I have a feeling we are building the mech here. We've got a lot of these 1x4s in gray. Some of these partial cone pieces. A lot of hinges, which definitely sounds like it's going to be the mech. Yeah, a lot of black and gray. Red stuff. Got a lot of these sloped pieces. And regular 1x2 slopes. These are the weird ones. Lloyd is in here. Some tan colored pieces. Probably for seed? I don't know. Not quite sure. Some Nexonite shields. There's a lot of small stuff here. Some of it's in gold. Including gold bars. Those are always fun. Got some black, or no, those are brown ones here as well. But yeah, those are quite a bit here in this first bag. There we have bag 2, and there's nowhere near as much here as there was in the first bag. And once again, I think we've got parts for the mech, since we got so much black stuff, including all these black panels, which are cool. We have gold swords there. A lot more black stuff. And I think that's because this is probably whatever's left over that needs to go on the mech. So that's kind of cool. We got Cole over here. This is his mech anyways, since it's, I'm pretty sure, because it's black, you know, one of his main colors. Got some interesting trans orange stud pieces, and then trans orange light thing pieces, whatever you want to call them. Some pins here and there, some unicorn horns. We have our green hot dog, including a bun, so it is really a green hot dog and not being used for anything else. Please tell me that's not how Cole actually gets his ghost powers. Oh my gosh, don't eat green hot dogs, please. There was some green hot dogs in another set, Ninjago set. I don't remember, it was a while ago, but don't eat green hot dogs, whatever you do. Here we have the third bag. Once again, we don't have a lot of pieces in here, but we have a lot of large pieces, like these large Technic bricks over here, and a lot of plates, long plates. Definitely building the base structure for the vehicle. Jay's over here. Got a chain piece, a few other small pieces here. Yeah, really not a lot here, but we definitely got some large pieces going on. Here we have bag 4, and we've got some interesting pieces here, and still not too many crazy ones, but we do have some larger ones in here as well, including these fin pieces and a canopy there in clear black or gray, whatever you want to call it, smoke colored. We've got our 2 bad guys in here, our Nindroid and the Dark Lord. I think that's what it's called. But we also have chainsaw pieces. We have transparent blue popsicles. 4 of them, no less. I don't know what those are going to be for, but we'll find out. We also have these in that cool transparent blue. These 1x1 round pieces. Got some gold, some red lightsabers. This got away. And yeah, that's it. Like I said, not a lot of pieces. Once again. Here we have the 5th and final bag, and we've got quite a bit here, both small and large. We have these rubber bands, really stiff rubber bands. I think they're used as tires or something. Then we have these big wheels, large plastic there, including the golden caps, which I always thought these were cool. These are classic tires. I love those. We have tons of blue shields, and this has got all the finishing touches, so it has the wheels, but also has the tank treads. And pardon me if I didn't make them all nice and neat, but there is a ton of them. Of course they are. They're going to be probably the most tedious thing to put together on the whole thing. That and the little rubber stoppers that we have tons of here as well. Got some trans blue 1x1s round. Again, and a bunch of other pieces, studs on side, a lot of wheels and tire pieces here. Yeah, lots of that stuff. We got a bunch of pins and pegs and stuff, probably to finish things off, and that's really it. A lot of repetitive stuff in this bag, but this is the final one, so let's go finish it up. Here we have the leftover parts, and to start off with, we have the brick separator, which of course, got plenty of Lego sets, you probably got plenty of those. And we also have all these pieces. We got some swords, which are always great. Plenty of those mask pieces, which I know aren't everybody's favorite masks, but those can be used for customizing minifigures, so that's kind of cool to have all of them. And we've got lightsaber hilts and other assorted accessory pieces. Definitely got some good stuff for making some modified weapons. Also have a green hot dog. Remember, public service announcements: do not eat green hot dogs. Ever. Never. Anyways, we also have all these gold stud pieces left over. I'm not sure why. It makes me feel like I missed something. We also have one of the balls for the ball joints. These could come in handy, although you usually need more than one. But yeah, and then we have one extra bit of ammo here in one of the bolts. Goes in the bolt launcher. But that's it. So we've got our cast of characters here. Got quite a few ninjas. We have Lloyd, Cole, Jay, and, well, this is technically a ninja too, but it's a bad guy. It is one of the Nindroids. And then we have the Overlord here. And pretty interesting figures. This set has the ninjas with just the the bottom masks. I know those aren't everybody's favorite, but I think they work great, and you know, it lets us see their hair and shows off their individuality, and they're pieces that can be used with other things to make some really interesting parts, like you know, use a baseball cap or something else to modify the figures and their looks with the mask. And I think it's a pretty nice piece, and I don't really mind this. Besides, I think they prefer, you know, not having a hood all the time. They can be rather hot, but that's besides the point. Now, looking at their accessories, nothing too amazing here. I mean, Lloyd's just got a plain old sword. Cole here, interesting builds for the hammer, but I've seen better ones. It's okay. And then he's got his green hot dog. Cole, don't eat the green hot dog. Of course, we know he's going to eat the green hot dog. Just make sure you don't eat any green hot dogs. They're not good for you. And the J has a simple nunchuck going on here with a chain and 2 lightsaber hilts. There's nothing too spectacular there. Now, the bad guy's weapons are very similar, except one's kind of turned into a staff with the extension on it. But the chain with the axe thing, never been a really big draw to me. It just feels like they threw some pieces together that they thought would look cool without really much thought into any functionality or whatever. But, you know, it gives the kind of what the Ninjroids are supposed to be, robots and then ninjas at the same time. So, you know, they got like more classical weapon here with the axe head, but then they have the chainsaw, which is much more, you know, mechanical in nature. And why they give the Overlord here the similar thing, I don't know. Now, it's interesting they have the extension for the staff, and I've come to the conclusion when they have a character like the Overlord here, which is double high and has ghosts, they like to give them staffs. And I think the reason why is they help with the stability of the bottom of the figure when you stand it up. Kind of clever way of covering up the fact that they're a little top heavy, especially with the double body. But that's pretty much it for the accessories. Let's strip them down and take a closer look at their printed torsos and the details there. We can definitely check out their prints a lot better without all those weapons and stuff in the way. The faces, I usually put all the angry faces in the front, but I didn't with Jay this time for some reason, but he's got quite the goofy face there. Now their printing on their torsos look really good. Yeah, now I think we got some slight opacity issues, both with the J and Lloyd here with the underclothing there, with the wrapping and the belt, because it feels like the color behind it is bleeding through, although I don't know, maybe they're not supposed to be solid white, but yeah, it's... Jay looks a little bit better than Lloyd, although he does look like he's supposed to have a light blue belt. That's definitely not the same color as there, but here with Lloyd, that looks exactly like... Oops, can't quite see. That the belt looks exactly like with his underclothing there, his wraps or whatever, and I think it's bleeding through. But the print looks really nice with the metallic there, and you got the symbols and stuff going on. There is some decent printing on the legs, even despite you having the opacity issues there. Maybe it even goes along here with Cole as well. But either way, we still got some nice printing with the metallics on there. That looks really sharp. Same going with Jay. I like how they have it going different ways, the way they have it wrapped up. And then we have our bad guy here, our first bad guy, the Ninjroid, and he's got some nice printing there. Also on his torso, you can see his metal body underneath with that. It's kind of cool. Do we have? Well, he's got just a silver arm, but that is supposed to be kind of the extension of the mechanical parts that we see in the print job. So that's kind of nice touch. his angry face there. Yeah, well, he's got two faces, but moving on, we'll get to the backs in a moment. We got the Overlord here, and he's got his double torso. It's really nice there. You see the skeleton and some kind of, looks like power thing going on in his chest where heart might be, I don't know. And some gold going on there. Now the lower torso's got a little bit of printing, but you can tell that it's supposed to be where the printing is supposed to be designed to have the top piece on. He's got a pretty scary looking face there as well. Get it facing forward. And he's only got a face on one side because he's got that transparent purple head. So yeah, you're not going to get that. But oh, and there's a little bit of printing on the back here. I've seen this with the other Overlord figure. There's printing on the lower torso back, but not on the upper torso back. And it's kind of cool looking, but it's kind of disappointing that they don't show it up higher. And then we have the Ninjago here. He does have a second face, and that's quite the grimacing, upset face he's got there. He's got the kind of mechanical throwing star pattern on his back, which is cool. Opposed to the other ninjas that have their own symbols back there. And there is Jay's actual angry face, his game face, so to speak. And they've all got some really nice symbols there as well on their backs with the gold and some belt buckles and things like that. It's kind of nice. Yeah, not bad looking figures. Like a little bit of opacity problems, but maybe that's what they were going for. Sometimes hard to tell. We've got everything put together here, and looks pretty cool all together. We are going to, well, we've already looked at the figures, so we're going to just sweep them away, except for Cole here. And Jay's already inside, but we're going to check out how they fit inside in the vehicle. You'll notice that we've got Jay's weapon here, and that's because there is no place to put it, which is always a problem with Ninjago sets, is you put them in the vehicle and then you no longer have a place for their weapons. We're going to see that here with Cole as well when we get there. So, let's first look at this whole thing together, because it's pretty chunky. Now, the color scheme is kind of okay. I mean, obviously you got a J vehicle and a Cole vehicle here, and they don't quite mesh perfectly. You have a blue here and a black there, so it's definitely doesn't blend in together. But I think that's okay, because they are supposed to be separate vehicles. Overall, it rolls. It's kind of iffy because it depends on what surfaces. Now there's rubber studs on these treads to help them along here, and it moves pretty good here. But I also had problems doing it when I was building it at my desk. It wouldn't roll quite so well, and maybe it'll be better on carpet as well. But even still, even though rolling might be easier, it's still not very maneuverable, because you can't really steer or turn very well without actually lifting the whole vehicle up to change direction. But that's because there's a lot of friction here with the ground. Kind of a problem with tanks in general. You're not going to really get rid of that if you want cool tank treads, which I gotta admit, they do look cool. And I like the big back wheels as well. Now, this thing has a gimmick, but it does not work when it's in its confined form. So we're gonna have to tear it apart first. Not tear it apart, but separate it to check that out. But unfortunately, at the moment, it is one solid piece. And I don't know, this is, I guess, very tank-like. It looks very bulky with the neck on the back. You take that off and you'll see here in a moment, which we'll do that right now. Ta-da! It looks a lot skimpier. We're going to set the mech aside for the moment, because we're going to keep looking at this while we're doing it. But we can check out the transformation. Now, it's not much of a transformation, and I'm a little disappointed about this. I think the original had a little bit better from what I've seen, but I'm not sure. But basically, you pull back on it, and these missile pods kind of open up. But you notice the missile pods are all facing down. And it'd be nice if they put like a little hinge here. And also, basically, you pull it back to open those up, but then it has this tendency just to slide back down on its own. And yes, these do not close back up. You have to physically close them back up. Now, I like the form here that you have here. This it looks very streamlined. It looks like they kind of put a jet on top of a tank, which in some aspects is kind of weird, but I still like this look here on top anyways. Get to the back here, yeah, it looks a pretty bit skimpy because this is where the mech ends up sitting, and it's pretty simple how they connect together. There's two rods on the back of the mech, which we'll look at in a moment, but they just slide into these holes here, and he sits down there. Now you got to kind of fold him up too, which we'll look at that here in a moment. But let's check out the underside here. There's not really a lot going on, which you can kind of see from the side here. There's not a lot to the main body, and the top is what it is. Looks good, and it's a little bit more solid built, but not much underneath. And then you have the wheels just kind of extending off from it. Now inside the cockpit here, we got Jay, and he kind of lays down in it. I think he can, I don't know, if you sit him up like that, yeah, you can't get the lid show, so he's got to sit down like that. But the best way to put him in here is to actually set him up first, press down. There's 4 studs underneath, and then you can lay him back like this. He's not going to fall out easy. Probably not, yeah, even going to come out easy, but we'll get him out here in a second. Hair comes off easier. Just so you can take a closer look inside there. And we got these nice controls that look pretty cool. I think it's a simple build, but you know, it works. We also have these little firing weapons that are on really loose ball joints. I don't know if they add to it much, but they give you a little bit more weapons. I do like the design for whatever this engine or whatever it's supposed to be back here is. That's pretty cool. And got some ninja swords, kind of like fangs sticking out there. It's not bad looking there. The close up of the tank treads, or the inside there, looks pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about my feelings on it when we get back to the desk. The mech here, this guy is pretty interesting. Now, he's got connectors on the feet, which you need to disconnect. You actually don't have to connect them, but it does hold things together better. And that's pretty much for when you want to connect it to the vehicle. Fold down his legs, and voila, there you have it. Now you can pose his arms a little bit, make them look not quite so stiff. Before we look at all the posability and stuff, let's get Cole in there. Now you got a nice little cockpit that comes down like this, and it looks pretty cool. Overall, I like the look of this mech. It feels very Mech Warrior-ish, if you know what I mean, if you're familiar with that franchise. Battletech, Mech Warrior, etc. Get rid of Cole's hot dog and his hammer, and then kind of just sits in there. There's some studs in there that you want to place his butt on. Press them back, and then there you go. That comes down over him, and he sits in there like that. Now we got these big shoulders actually move, so you can, you know, lift up the arm higher if you want. Now the arm is on a ball joint at the shoulder. There's no real elbow articulation, which I think is a shame, and it only has a click hinge that goes back and forth like that. I wish it somehow rotated there at the wrist too, but it just goes like this, so you can get an angled pose like that. But I think they also limited the motion here simply for the ability to make it easier to fold up and into its position for connecting to the main vehicle, which I think is a bit of a shame. It also has bolt shooters on both hands along with the big claws. The one of them is a dud, a fake. This is just a regular piece, but then the other side has the bolt shooter, which they work really good, and we're not firing them off. Sorry. Then he's also got like these engine things here going on here, so he looks rather deadly if he went and punched something. Pretty cool. Now down here towards the legs, we have a ball joint, but it's done interesting enough so that you cannot like splay it out to the side too much. So you're not going to do a split with this guy, but it's enough for walking around. It rotates, and you can even go to the side to give it a bit of a wide stance like that. But like I said, no splits. Done, I think, also on purpose to make it easier to transform. I think that's why they did some of this stuff. Now, it's interesting because this does have a knee bend. You'll notice it's a bit more of a chicken walker the way the legs are designed, but it does have a knee bend of sorts. And then it also has an ankle movement as well. Mostly side to side. It has just a little bit back and forth, but not a lot. And it's got some big chunky feet. And I overall like the looks of this thing. I think it's great. Now looking on the back here, here's the two rods that go down, and this is what lets you connect it to the main vehicle. Pretty simple design concept there, but it works. Simple does work. I think they did a lot more in the design with just the appearance of it. I think it ended up looking great. It's amazing how they both got form and function here. Now, I would like a little bit more posability, but I think this works okay. And I think if you wanted more posability, some of the stuff would be easy to modify. And let's fold it up so you can put it back on there. It's not too hard. You basically want the claws going forward, folding down. Make sure those joints are all closed up like that. You want the legs to go back like, no, I think they're forward. Can't remember. Like that, and you also want to clip them together. And you can still move them around if you have them clipped together, so if they're at the wrong angle, you can easily move them. But you get them clipped together like that, and straighten them up. Okay, I think you want the arms up as well. Straight back. And then basically kind of just sits there. And like I said, you drop those on there. Okay, now fold the legs up a little bit. And there you go, he's back on there. So, interesting, simple transformation combination. I don't even know what you want to call it, because it's basically a mech carrier with the mechs on the back, and you just pop it off. But let's head back to the desk, and I'll give you guys my overall thoughts and opinions, and then of course the final eval as well. Here we are back at the desk, and overall my final thoughts on this set. It's not terrible. I'm just slightly disappointed in it. There's parts of it I really like, and then there's parts that I'm a bit disappointed in. Not disliking entirely, just a little disappointed. I may feel a little more negative about it than I actually am, just because I had my hopes up in a ways, and I've been let down some. But we'll get into those details as we move on here with the final evaluation. So let's go ahead and do that. As far as appearance, and this is really where overall, this looks like an interesting, chunky vehicle. I mean, the color scheme is kind of weird, with it kind of split down the middle, black and blue, half and half. But not terrible. I mean, there's some other black stuff on here, so it kind of is okay, but it's nothing amazing. It is a big, chunky looking vehicle, which I don't unappreciate. I do like a good, chunky tank. It looks kind of like a tank, sort of. The front part, well, we'll get there. But the mech, I really like the looks of the mech. It looks like something from Mech Warrior, the design. The shoulders, where the arms are, the big honky legs that are kind of a chicken walker. It's almost a chicken walker, the way the legs are bent. I like the claws, the big claws in the front, but they also have a firing mechanism in there as well, which I think that's really cool. So it's got multi-use arms, really like that. The front part, though, I feel is lacking, and if you missed my review, you should go back and watch it, because I talk more about that. I'm not going to split it all up here, but the front feels very much like it's tires and train heads with a small little tiny vehicle on top, and I think they just need to make this bigger and do more with it, and that by making it bigger and doing more with it, you will kind of fix the next issue I have with it, or at least you have more to work with. And before I get into that, as far as appearance is going to go, I'm going to give this a 9. I mean, it's not a terrible score, and it's kind of an average out, because I love the mech. I would give that a 10 if it was just a vehicle on its own. It could use a little bit more posability, but if it was a vehicle on its own, they probably would have given it. Some of the lack of posability is more of a design feature, so to speak, make it easier to fold up to fit on the back here. But what it still works fairly well and has enough posability. They just reduce the number of hinges, so you're not having things get way out of whack when you're when you're trying to fold it up. You have problems. So I appreciate that, and especially for kids that might be helpful. But yeah, appearance got a 9. Moving on to function. I talk about the posability of the mech, and I don't feel like that's an extreme detriment what we had here, and you could probably even easily modify it, though that's not what we're grading here. We're grading on the set as a whole, but it could be easily modified to have a few more joints or whatever, basically in the upper arms. I think that's where it's lacking the most, although there is the whole thing with the hips, but that could easily be fixed as well. No, my biggest concern with function is actually the front part, and as I said, if it had more pieces and stuff, it could probably help alleviate that. And what it basically is, once you can't, it doesn't do anything when it's in its combined form. You can't, because the mech blocks the way. But when the mech is removed, you can push this up, and the top opens up, and you have missiles. The problem is the missiles point down, and the whole cockpit will just slide back forward. Is it supposed to be transforming? Is it just simply to open up? It feels like it needs some more friction in there or something. And also, to close it back up, you have to physically push up the wings. It would have been some more interesting if there were some rubber bands in there or whatever. That's like I've seen them do with other things, so that when you push it back, it opens it up, but then when you pull it forward, it closes back up. So it's reversible. And like I said, if they had a few more pieces, they could have made this look a little bit bigger, so it's not all just tank treads and wheels. It has more presence up here in the front, and you can kind of see that it's just the blue part here, and the blue part is kind of dwarfed by this, and even the mech on the back to some extent. But yeah, I was not happy with the function with this, and as I said, more pieces, built it bigger, you could have more things to work with to build functionality into this, and it would have been better. So in the end, I ended up giving functionality also a 9. Now, moving on to fun. Oh, I did fail to mention that it doesn't really roll the best. It is possible, but the tank treads kind of slow it down and stuff. And that is part of the function, but it also goes into the fun. If you're going to have a vehicle, you want to make it plenty fun to roll around with. And I feel like this does not have that. Now, they are going to have fun, like disconnecting it, doing the function, even though, yeah, you got to fold it up yourself, the blue part of the vehicle. The mech's going to be fun to play with. It's posable enough. It'll get the job done, and even has like posable shoulder pads, so you can move them out of the way and get the arms up high and whatever you want to do for poses there. So that's pretty fun. Now, the other biggest issue is we have this, which is essentially 2 builds in one. And you got 3 good guys, but you only got 2 bad guys. So narratively, this is kind of off. Maybe a medium build or something for the bad guys, or at least throw another bad guy in there. It might have had a little bit more balance narratively. Now, I can understand why they didn't, because it's got a lot of parts already in it, and they end up raising the price more, which we'll talk about at the end a little bit. But yeah, and I ended up giving fun a 9 also. There is some really great fun aspects to this set, but I feel like the not rolling part is a big detriment, and on top of that, you also have narratively a unbalanced. Oh, and the build is actually kind of fun to do, and seeing how it comes together, which we'll talk about that more even in the next in the technique section. But yeah, so fun got a 9. Now, as far as techniques, seeing how this all came together and what parts were used. Now, this is simple. Them combining together is pretty simple, but the actual build on the mech is really neat. How they did some of the joints and how things came together. How it's designed to be, you know, easier to fold up, but still look good in the process. And even the main vehicle here, the tank or whatever you want to call it. It's interesting watching how this goes together. There's some creative uses of parts to create certain angles, and also just to, like, there's the engine back here is a really neat little build. There's some good techniques and stuff going on in there. It's just like I said, it needed just a little bit more. But I'm still going to give technique a 10 because what's here is still pretty neat. It just feels like it needs a bit more, and that's affected the other scores more than it has this, because there is some really cool stuff going on here. And I gave technique a 10. So take all that up, add it together, you get a 37, and we get a 9.25 for an average, and we round up here to the nearest half. So this set is going to get a 9.5 for a final evaluation. Now, talking briefly on price, I forgot to do the math, but it is $49.99 originally and had over 500 pieces, 570 something, I think. So quite a bit over, and you're going to be under your standard price per part ratio. So that's a good thing. And but like I said, I think it could have used more. And that may be the price budget they wanted for this set is part of the problem, is for them to do more with this, they would have had to charge more for it. And that obviously included if they wanted to add another figure or a build for the bad guys here. Although this is already a good deal, by the time they had to add more pieces, they probably would have had to raise it up, and they were probably aiming for a particular price point as well. $49.99 is definitely a price point to be aiming for. This is our $50 set. I think that's it. You let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Now there's 2 other versions of this. The mini version, which I don't expect a lot from the mini version. It's going to be a mini version. But then there's the original version, and seen some reviews myself on them and other stuff. I think the original might actually be better. It's smaller than this, but that doesn't mean it's bad. We'll take a look at it someday. If I remember, I'll probably try to put a link here in this video to get to it. So if you've seen it afterwards, you can link back and forth. And but it's probably gonna be a little while before I get to that set, since I'm focusing on the legacy sets. So, yep, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, and if you're not yet subscribed or new here, I greatly appreciate that, and make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And check out my links down below in the description to Facebook and Twitter, and follow me on one of those, because YouTube sometimes does not send its notifications out very soon. So if you want the notifications faster, follow me on there. I get them out right away on those sites. And there's also a Patreon down there if you want to check that out. There's not much there at the moment, but I appreciate it. You know, even if you just stop by and look at it, I appreciate it. There's not much there, but even if you don't help the channel out directly that way, I appreciate anything you do. Just watching the video and subscribing. I need subscribers, as you probably can tell looking at my subscriber count. We're getting there slowly. We're up over 300, but we're slowly getting to the halfway point to the big number, the 1,001. That's the most important number for YouTubers, really. So that's it for me at the Creation Evaluation Station, reminding you that creativity is key.